all about how to showcase the value of enablement with visual insights in HighSpot. Before we dive into the value scenarios I'm going to show you today, I wanted to call attention to the fact that we just celebrated Halloween last week, and I've noticed some spooky energy still lingering. Whoa, what was that? It's time for a couple of little ghost stories before we jump into the rest of the session. Have you heard the one about the product marketing manager the night before her quarterly business review? I bet some of you have. It was 5 p.m. on a Thursday, and Mary, our PMM, gets an email from her boss about tomorrow's QBR. Their CEO wants to understand how their new product launch initiative is performing without a full quarter's worth of sales results in. Revenue is a lagging indicator of success, but since Mary wants to deliver and be seen as strategic, she prepares for a long night of assembling data and trying to make sense of it. The content usage data is in a cloud file storage tool, the training data is in her LMS application, buyer engagement data is in yet another sales tool, and sales opportunity data is in CRM. The sales ops team can't help. They are working on a CPQ implementation project. The last time Mary put this report together, her boss wasn't too thrilled. She wanted to know more about the audience, when the sales play launched, which teams are working on it, and which ones are lagging behind and need a push. The spreadsheet Mary provided last time left quite a lot to be desired, and while sales ops helped her get closer to what was needed, that took weeks. The CEO needs that report now. It looks like another missed happy hour and another long night. Can any of you relate? I know I can, and it's a terrifying thought. And that's not our only scary story for today. Let's head over to Alexandra from our sales engineering team, who has another one for you.
This one's pretty scary too. Once upon a time, a sales manager for a growing organization was overwhelmed. Her calendar was stacked with calls to support her team on their biggest deals and with internal meetings with leadership to review pipeline and forecasting data. For one-on-ones with each of her team members, she's not as prepared as she'd like to be. The ones who aren't hitting their quotas need coaching, but the readily accessible information is limited to opportunities in pipeline or reviewing game tape from a recent meeting that might be top of mind. She wants to help them improve holistically, but it's difficult and time-consuming to get the information to do that effectively. Solving this starts with a full picture of the rep. What do they know? What do they not know? What are their strengths and weaknesses? Are they executing on key strategic priorities for the year, developing skills in the right areas, and driving revenue? Pulling together all this data is a nightmare, and she ends up going into one-on-ones without the full picture of what each of them is actually doing and how that compares to others in how they prep, how they're engaging with customers, and whether they're executing on key strategic initiatives. Some of these reps end up missing quota for multiple quarters in a row and leave the company, which means she's now got to backfill those positions, get the rest of the team to pick up slack, or risk missing their number. This spooky story might feel hauntingly familiar. I'll turn things back over to Liz, who will show you how HighSpot is solving these problems.
We've heard from many of you that you've run into scenarios just like the terrifying ones Alexandra and I described, particularly in your days before joining the HighSpot community. Luckily, the scary portion of today's session is over now, and we're going to paint a more rosy picture, showcasing how you can demonstrate the value of your efforts using visual insights with scorecards in HighSpot. To solve for our first scary scenario, the product marketer's worst nightmare, I'd love to show you how HighSpot supports you in measuring the success of your most important strategic initiatives, like a new product launch. I'll show you how our fictitious company NexusPath is driving their new Cloud PBX product launch through plays and play scorecards in this demo. You'll notice this play lets me highlight what to know, what to say, what to show and do when it comes to customer conversations. A structure that lets me unify different content and training types and stitch them together with guidance for the field. Of course, I'm getting to bring together all the goodness of the unified platform here, the internal and external content, native training, and guidance to pull it all together. As a PMM, I want to be able to measure how the launch is going and report out on that for our QBR tomorrow, so I'll hop into the Play scorecard to check on it. Without unified insights, it's hard to stitch together data about activity like clicks and downloads, course completion percentages, buyer engagement, and revenue data from CRM. I might be able to get each of those separately, but HighSpot is helping me avoid that particular nightmare. Right away in the overview, I can start to answer 4 questions of whether my reps understand our Cloud PBX launch strategy, whether they're executing it, how customers are responding, and how it is or isn't driving results in the form of influenced revenue. So let's dig into whether our reps understand the launch strategy we're using. The play tab is going to tell me whether my sales play is landing with our reps. Are they spending the time to learn our strategy and consume the play itself? I'm seeing great traction with this play, with 90% of the team viewing it and really spending time there. If these numbers were lower, there are several actions I could take in HighSpot to promote the resources in play through search results or targeted on key types of CRM opportunities. Now, let's check out training. As you'd expect, the training tab takes stock of how reps are progressing with the training courses in my launch play. Next, I want to know whether my reps are actually executing our strategy and whether customers are responding to it. So let's take a look at engagement. As a product marketer, this pitches tab is hugely important to understand the success of what my team and I have worked on. It tells me immediately how many of the targeted reps are executing the launch play and whether it's working with buyers. 53% of pitches viewed is a pretty solid rate, but there's still room for improvement. So I'm going to try and tweak the pitch templates we created to see if we can make them a little more compelling. The last question HighSpot Scorecards helps me answer is that strategy driving results? Under business outcomes, I get to see and quantify the true impact of our launch on pipeline and revenue. This is a game changer. I can now come prepared with useful data for my CMO and Chief Revenue Officer when they ask how the launch is going. Here, I'm getting a view of everything from the opportunities my sales play has influenced when reps pitch the content to how much revenue it generated. HighSpot calculates influenced revenue based on the CRM opportunities that are related to the pitches reps send. With 68 of the associated opportunities won, I'm confident my sales play is driving some early success. Now, let's go over to Alexandra, our sales manager, who's going to demo our brand new rep scorecards and show you how they transform coaching with HighSpot.
So let's say I'm a sales manager who's preparing for my next one-on-one with one of my reps, John. I want to see how he's been preparing, how he's been engaging with customers, and whether he's executing on our key strategic initiatives as part of his day-to-day. So let's say I'm a sales manager who's preparing for my next one-on-one with one of my reps, John. I want to see how he's been preparing, how he's been engaging with customers, and whether he's executing on our key strategic initiatives as a part of his day-to-day. I'll start first with this Pitches tab so I can understand how John has been reaching out to prospects and whether his messaging is driving engagement. I can see that his effort is aligned with my expectations. He's in the top 25% of the team, but that effort isn't driving the engagement we'd like. So I'll drill down to understand where those gaps might be. When I drill down further, I can see that John is leveraging email really heavily compared to his peers, and in doing so, his engagement is pretty low compared to the broader team. And further, I can see that the content he's leveraging most often isn't necessarily aligned with what we'd expect the team to be most focused on. Marketing created a new customer deck and a new ROI calculator as a part of a recent product launch, and I noticed that John isn't using those materials as often as his peers. I'll make a note to follow up with him on his current messaging. Next, I'll understand where John is spending his time between our different playbooks, collateral, and internal materials. This data reinforces for me that John is over-indexing on lower impact materials. From training, I can see everything that John is currently working through, both that's been assigned out or that John self-enrolled in. I noticed here that John self-enrolled in a discovery course. I'll make a note to talk about skills John wants to further develop and offer additional coaching on John's discovery calls. From the Plays tab, I can understand how John is executing key plays and initiatives that are important to the business. And while he's viewed a lot of our plays, he's not spending all that much time with them and hasn't been focused on the product launch play I've been emphasizing with the team. Without this more holistic scorecard, it would take me much longer to identify that John isn't pitching our new product. I can more easily start a conversation with John on this initiative to make sure he's bought in. The Rep Scorecard simplifies coaching by putting meaningful information in the hands of sales managers and provides a holistic picture of rep performance beyond the forecast report. The Rep Scorecard simplifies coaching by putting meaningful information in the hands of sales managers and provides a holistic picture of rep performance beyond the forecast report.
Thanks, Alexandra. I'm feeling like those sales managers who are using HighSpot are a lot less likely to run into a scary quarter with the early visibility those rep scorecards are going to give them. But we also have more for our PMM, Mary. It's been a challenge for her to tie that sales opportunity data from Salesforce back to the content her team is creating. Mary can glean buyer activity data from the pitches that reps are sending, but that still tells an incomplete story about business outcomes. Now we're going to get a sneak peek of another brand new scorecard that's going to help Mary get a really holistic view of content influence and ROI. It's going to simplify reps' workflows and give those reps and their managers deeper visibility into what's working and what's not in the sales cycle. Let's learn more about the Pitch Scorecard, powered by our Engagement Genomics engine. So first off, what is Engagement Genomics? We're building on HighSpot's strong, patented AI capabilities like Content Genomics to give you the most accurate and trustworthy business outcome data, so you can be confident you're investing resources wisely and getting maximum ROI. As a reminder, with Content Genomics, we're tying similar pieces of content together so marketing and enablement can understand the true revenue impact and reach of the resources they've created. Now we're introducing Engagement Genomics, which auto-relates your reps' pitches to CRM records to guarantee that buyer engagement data is recorded automatically and accurately for every pitch. This eliminates manual work for your sales reps and gives deeper insight into content effectiveness for marketing and enablement teams. We all know keeping buyer data squeaky clean in Salesforce is an ongoing challenge, no matter how big or small your organization is. So rather than relying on your Salesforce structure being perfect, HighSpot Engagement Genomics uses AI to plug in factors like history, account structure, and real-time updates to give you deeper insight into buyer engagement activity than anyone else. And the Engagement Genomics platform is flexible. You don't need a special Salesforce configuration to use it. Okay, without further ado, let's take a tour of the new Pitch Scorecard from a sales rep's perspective. As a rep, I can find the Pitch Scorecard under this new Engagement tab here. I'll see an enhanced pitch list, which now shows all my pitches in context of the accounts and opportunities I'm working with more powerful sorting and filtering capabilities. I can click on any of my sent pitches to see its scorecard. When I open up the Pitch Scorecard, the first thing I'll see are these action tiles, which gives me crisp summaries of the most important information about my pitch, my buyers, and their engagement with the content I sent, right at my fingertips. I didn't have to do any work to relate this pitch back to Salesforce. The Engagement Genomics AI automatically associated my pitch with the right Salesforce account and the opportunity in real time. And I can view all the most important and relevant opportunity details here on the right side of the page, like stage and close date. This connection gives me time back in my daily workflow and accelerates my ability to connect with my buyer. I can also expand out this Recipients tab to review the buyer team contacts and their roles on this communication thread. This data is all coming from Salesforce 2, so it's accurate and up to date. And here I get a more focused view of what content is resonating with my buyers. I have these great new aggregate views for my buyer engagement data. Not only can I see the activity by page in order, but I can also now quickly determine where the most time is being spent or what page is getting the most views overall. This helps me hone in on my messaging and strategy for my next meeting with the buyer team. As a rep, I'm super excited about this new aggregated view. I can focus on connecting with buyers, not on data input. I can get more accurate insights with less effort. But marketing and enablement will also be delighted to hear that this comprehensive engagement genomics data will also tie back into HighSpot's influenced revenue reporting. With every pitch auto-related to Salesforce data, you will see a clear and complete picture of how sales content and plays influence the buyer journey. You will be able to better measure the tangible impacts of your efforts on business outcomes. Engagement Genomics will be released to general availability next year, and we'll have some more timeline details for you at the end of this session. But first, I'll turn it over to Will to share a look at our powerful new content scorecard.
To all the product marketers and enablement professionals out there, good news, because we have a scorecard just for you, the Content Scorecard. The Content Scorecard provides a 360 view of content in HighSpot, including who's using it, what customer situations they're using it in, and most importantly, the results that it's generating for your business. Put simply, it enables marketing teams to focus their investments on the content that drives the most impact for the business. And for enablement, it helps to ensure that content is well curated and organized for success. Let's dive in. We'll start with the Usage tab. This is where you come to gain insight into how content is being used and by whom. One of the most important things you want to know after investing in content is fundamentally, is it resonating with our sellers? Well, right up front, you can see key usage metrics for content. How many views is it getting? Is it being remixed? How often is it shared with customers? Moving down, you get a bit more detail on how reach and viewership are trending over time. Does the engagement match the level of investment? How might we increase the viewership? Well, it might help to understand how that usage is broken out by team. Here you see the Eastern sales team is leading the pack, with the Enterprise AE team bringing up the rear. Maybe it would make sense to feature this content in an upcoming training for the Enterprise team. And lastly, you want to know what type of content is getting used. Last quarter, you invested a lot in brochures. Did that pay off? Well, good news. Here we can see that brochures are leading the pack in terms of usage. However, you might want to reevaluate your use of white papers, which didn't even place in the top 7. Now that you know what's resonating internally, let's shift our focus to how it's being used with customers. Again, across the top, you have some aggregate measurements and their trends, including how often the content was pitched to customers, how often it was engaged with, and the depth of that engagement. Moving down, you can see how that engagement breaks out across different dimensions, be it by format, by publisher, or by list group. Here you're looking at target industry. You can see that content for the life sciences industry has the greatest amount of usage, but the professional services industry is where you've seen the highest engagement. Given the focus on life sciences this quarter, what can you do to improve the engagement? Well, looking to the right, you can see that brochures are the content type that has driven the highest amount of viewing time. Maybe that's an area to invest further in. Well, it's good to know whether content is popular and engaging. The biggest question is often, what revenue did it generate for the business? Well, thanks to our engagement genomics technology, for the first time in history, you can answer that question with unprecedented accuracy. Right on top of the Business Outcomes tab, you can see some basic measurements of ROI, such as how many opportunities have been influenced, their revenue, and the win rate of those deals. Moving down, you see a visual map of what content is being used in generating revenue for the business. In the upper right, you see high usage and high return content. These are your top performers. In the upper left, this is the content that's effective and not used as frequently. These are great candidates to promote and enable your teams on. And toward the bottom, this is the content that you should consider updating or archiving. Below, you can see all this broken out by content creator. 56% of product marketers have revenue generation as their main OKR. And thanks to the complete picture of revenue impact that Engagement Genomics provides, they can now take full credit for their contributions. And lastly, that brings us to the Governance tab. This is where you go to ensure that the most effective, impactful content is easy to locate and available for reps to share with customers. To start, you'll see several recommendations to help you take action on unused content, duplicates, and items that are either violating spot policies or pending approval. Once you've actioned these, it's about making sure that the best content is easy to find. That starts with promoting the content that's high performing, but not as heavily used by sellers, as well as versioning heavily used content that has become stale over time. And we round it out with recommendations on similar content that can be merged, and insights on what publishers are keeping their content fresh. Content is a critical component of your go-to-market strategy. I hope this demo has made clear how the Content Scorecard provides clear insight into the full life cycle of content. With this scorecard, marketing and enablement teams can better work together to consistently produce, manage, and curate content to maximize the success of your business. Now I'll pass it off to Nico to share how you can get your hands on this scorecard.
Thanks, Will. Okay, so we've seen some really exciting stuff today, and I bet your next question is, how and when do I get it? To try out Rep Scorecards, which are currently in open beta, you can get started today by reaching out to your HighSpot account team. We're still hard at work building out the Content Scorecard, the Pitch Scorecard, and Engagement Genomics for you. We are starting to roll out a limited early access program today. Spots are limited, so reach out to your account team if you're interested in participating. Your account team will reach back out if you're a good fit for the program with next steps to get started. And with general availability releases later next year, this set of features will be available for all our HighSpot content and guidance customers. All right, Liz, take it away.
Thanks, Nico. I am so incredibly excited about the capabilities we've shown our customers today. I really think this new engagement genomics is going to go a long way in giving HighSpot customers the best insight they've ever had into buyer engagement and business outcome data. I'm starting to feel a lot sunnier than I was at the beginning of today's session. Now that we're arming sales reps, their managers, and their marketing and enablement teams with such powerful insights thanks to these scorecards. For all of you out there watching, I can't wait to see how you'll use these new capabilities to draw out enablement insights that really change the game, elevate your role in the organization, and help you make better decisions as you head into planning for next year. Let's make it happen.